From the News Channel 5 Network, this is Inside Politics.
Hello, everyone. I'm News Channel 5's political analyst, Pat Nolan. Welcome to Inside Politics. As May turns to June, there's so much going on in politics these days. We're bringing two of our best political analysts in to talk about it all today. We'll discuss an emerging Nashville mayoral race on the local scene on the state level. We'll also talk about the scandal going on at the State House. Nationally, Robert Mueller did his best Greta Garbo impersonation this week. For the first time, and he says the only time, he talked, speaking briefly about his ever-controversial Russia investigation. What did he say? What does it mean? Where do we go from here? And why did he speak out? Our guests are Democrats Larry Woods and Republican Bill Phillips. Guys, thanks for coming back on the show again.
Pleasure. Yes, sir.
Well, let's begin with the Mueller comments. Larry, why did he pick now to speak out? He's had 2 years, he said nothing, and suddenly he comes out and makes a very short, couple-minute statement. That's it.
You know, I'm really questioning now whether Mueller wasted a lot of time, money, and energy. If he's going to come out in his Greta Garbo role and say the internal Department of Justice memoranda policies forbid me from indicting President Trump, well, he knew that the first day of the investigation that was the policy. Now, I can appreciate Mueller wanted to correct or disagree with Attorney General Bill Barr and what Barr's been saying to the public, and Mueller did a good job of outlining the disagreement. None of us know, of course, because none of us, good citizens, are allowed to read the report. I was disappointed.
Bill, Mueller said that basically he was not exonerating the president in his report. He said if he thought the president had not committed a crime, he would have said so. So is he saying or implying the president did commit a crime?
I think what he did is he put the ball into the court of the Congress and said, okay, you have the groundwork here. If you really think that he has committed impeachable acts, get on it. He did his statement because it was his last day on the payroll, and there's nothing like, getting off the payroll to have for freedom of speech. So, but his style is such that he was not going to come out and say Trump is, and then fill in the blank.
He's off the payroll, but is he off Capitol Hill? Aren't they still going to try to have him come back to make some additional questions, maybe even subpoena him?
I can't imagine that they would not do that.
I'm with Bill on that. I know Mueller's saying he doesn't want to appear, but gee.
Yeah, but he also follows the rules, and if he gets a subpoena,
he'll show up.
So
he'll be very guarded in anything he says, just like in the public the other day.
And he'll be careful not to perjure himself.
President Trump has come back and first attacked the Mueller probe again. He's gone off that now to going back to the border and concerned about putting some tariffs in Mexico. Is that to change the subject? Why did he go back after Mueller again? Even though he still says case closed, they just couldn't find sufficient evidence to find I did a crime and I didn't commit a crime.
You know that little voice I hear in my head, and you do too, right before I'm getting ready to say something stupid or dumb or do something stupid or dumb, honey, you look awful in that dress kind of thing. Mr. Trump doesn't have that little voice in his head. I mean, he really doesn't. We've all seen it on display for 2 years. There's no stop mechanism. There's no limit. There's no control. He's liable to say anything to anybody in outrageous terms every day of the week. Democrat, Republican, anything else. So we're trying to look at it as any rational political observer would. But those aren't the rules that Mr. Trump plays by.
But Billy's very good at changing the subject, too, and putting something else out there after there's a big controversy that maybe he doesn't want to have stay in the news.
Yeah, and I reluctantly give him credit, but he has the ability to go back to his base, keep them fired up, and then he comes back with these, attacks on the subject of the day. And Mueller will be back.
Larry, as this has been punted back to Congress, could this not have come at a worse time for Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker? She had kind of gotten all those we need to impeach right now feelings among her caucus calmed down a little bit. Now Mueller speaks, and it's starting all over again.
Well, it's been enough to change my mind individually. I've been a very strong advocate for Nancy Pelosi. She's handled it perfectly. She's smart about what you just described. But I have changed my mind the last couple of days. I think the House needs to begin a formal impeachment inquiry, hold public hearings, subpoena Mueller, Barr, everybody else to come testify under oath, and let's find out what the report really is all about. and then make up our mind whether we ought to vote for impeachment or
Well,
not.
Bill, let's flip it. Let's not talk anymore about holding the Democrats down in her caucus to do that. Let's talk about bringing those in her caucus that were still unsure about it. Let's take as case in point Congressman Jim Cooper right here in Nashville. He came out with a statement this week after Mueller spoke that says he's still against impeachment. He said the 2020 elections are the best way to bring the president to justice. If we can't get congressmen in safe congressional districts, Democratic districts like Jim Cooper to wholeheartedly support impeachment, why even try even in the House?
Well, I think the clock is ticking, and if they wait much longer, they're going to be hammered for, oh, you're being political, you're trying to interfere with the 2020
They're
election.
be attacked for being political anyway, aren't they?
Well, I assume they will.
But more truth in the way you're presenting
Right.
it.
If they wait till after the 2020 and what Mr. Cooper has suggested does not happen, they can come in, and then and you'll remember Richard Nixon, that's what happened with him. He won overwhelmingly, and then bam.
So, Larry, if impeachment comes to the House floor after it's gone through the Judiciary Committee, it passes?
House floor,
Yes.
if the facts are what we in the media have portrayed them to be, yes, the House would vote impeachment after the hearing the evidence. But we all know, I think, what's going to happen in the Senate. But I'm reluctant to assume it's a party line vote in the Senate. I think it'll depend on the quality and depth of the evidence that's presented in the House
But
hearings.
it will have to be an extraordinary bipartisan vote because it takes 66 votes to remove a president. And the only president who got close to it was Andrew Johnson. And he didn't need 66. In those days, we didn't have that many members in the Senate. But that 66 is an extraordinary number, and the Democrats they don't even have a majority, much less anything close to that kind of a supermajority.
I want to say, though, and again, not as a partisan or a Democrat, I assume in all likelihood he would not be convicted on the impeachment charges in the Senate. But
And then he gets reelected. I mean, it'd be very difficult for the Democrats to beat him after they've gone out. After you shoot the king and you don't get him,
that gives
pay the
him a
price.
real surge, I think, in popularity among various groups in the population. But frankly, I'm in fear every day he's going to win re-election if we don't go through that process.
let's take a break. We're talking to Larry Woods, Democrat, and Bill Phillips, Republican. We're talking about what's been going on in Washington this week. In the second part, when we come back, we'll talk about the mayor's race here in Nashville, which is beginning to emerge. Back to continue our conversation after this break.